Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday. It is the 21st of May, and we are live with the view from the top. I am so excited. We have got a legend of mobility backstage with us. We've got the wonderful Yuki Watanabe, the head of global mobility at Delivery Hero, and she is going to be talking about their amazing journey of digitizing mobility. So it's going to be a really exciting show for you today, and we're looking forward to seeing who is joining us. You know how it works, everybody. Join in the conversation, write in the comments box, tell us who you are, where you are, tell us what's going on in your world. We are live on LinkedIn, we are live on YouTube, and we will be available on Spotify as well. So lots of good stuff going on there. So do remember that we are, as I said, live on YouTube, live on LinkedIn, and we are available on Spotify for you. Now, I know a number of our audience like to get their CPE codes, and you can get your CPE codes from Worldwide ERC, you can get them from SHRM, or you can get them from HRCI, and here are the codes. So if you want your codes from Worldwide ERC, your GMS or your CRP codes, or if you want your SHRM codes or your HRCI codes, there they are. So really, really exciting show for you today. And next week, we've got another really interesting show. Next week, we've got the amazing Laura Young from Salesforce, a real thought leader in our industry, who's going to be talking about beyond operational, how you move from, if you like, dealing with everything that is urgent to focusing on everything that's important. So moving from operational to strategic. And Laura Young, trust me, is a great thought leader, and she'll bring lots of original thoughts to the show next week. So what's been going on in the wonderful world of global mobility over the last 7 days? Well, like every week, we run a little video to show you what's the breaking news, who's got a new job, who's been promoted, and indeed, if you're looking, what jobs are out there. So everybody, let's have a look what's been going on in the wonderful world of global mobility over the last 7 days. So there we have it. Congratulations to everybody who's been promoted. Congratulations to everybody who's got a new job. And if you're looking for a job, a new role, there's plenty out there. But if you've got some news you want to share with us, then do let us know, drop us a line. And if you've got a job that you want to advertise or get filled, then again, let us know. We don't charge for anything. So it's just a service to the industry. So if you've got something you want to promote, then just let us know. Now, meanwhile, there's been a lot going on in the worlds of immigration and tax over the last 7 days or so. And so I'm super excited. We're going to start with immigration. And we've got the amazing Shweb McKeet from Fragmented with us today. And he's going to be giving us this week's immigration update. So you know how it works. Please hit the heart button, hit the like button, hit the applause button, and let's welcome to our stage Shweb McKeet. Hey Shweb, how are you doing, my old friend? Good to see you.
Hi, Brian. Welcome. Thank you for having me again.
And you. So tell us, I know you're London-based. Are you going to be giving us a UK immigration update? Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, it's a UK update, but of course it has worldwide implications in relation to anybody, of course, who uses the UK as a base for their businesses or as a transit location. So the rules, although are UK specific, they have wider implications for those who use the UK immigration system.
Go for it. Tell us all about it.
Last week the government, of course, launched the UK immigration white paper. Now, just a bit of background, a white paper is usually a policy document issued by governments from time to time that focus on a particular aspect of policy. And this, of course, was a document relating to immigration. And the genesis of this particular report was the huge net migration figures that were announced in November. And the Prime Minister on that afternoon said, we're about to launch a paper that will introduce policies that are intended to reduce net migration. So everybody's waiting with bated breath. It was released last week. And also just to emphasize that a white paper is not actually the rules or the statute actually changing. It is a statement of intent. It's an ambition. It's a political statement. So just to kind of caveat what I'm about to say.
But this is showing a direction of travel.
Indeed, it is. So in that context, of course, it's the direction of travel, if it's set by the government, is likely to be obviously in situ, but the timetable, of course, will be affected. The white paper doesn't actually introduce the rules, but it sets out the agenda. And we still wait for exact rule changes to give these proposals into effect. So 3 areas I really want to cover. First of all, what the key changes are, which will affect effectively global mobility and businesses who operate in the UK using the immigration system. Secondly, what the business impacts are. And thirdly, how we think businesses should be reacting to this at this particular stage. So first of all, can I just focus on really 7 points of the white paper, which really directly impact on businesses. First of all, the main route, skilled worker route, through which people enter the UK for work purposes, the skilled threshold will increase from below degree level qualifications to degree level qualifications. So going forward, the government's ambition is to make sure that people who come here under skilled worker route are those coming in doing occupations where they need at least a degree level qualification. There are some carve-outs to that. Secondly, you've got an increase in costs going forward because you've got an immediate suggestion that they will increase the immigration skill charge. And that is a charge paid by employers per employee per year. And currently it's about £1,000 for a large firm. They want to increase it by 32%. They also want to reduce the length of time graduates can spend in the UK after graduating in order to work, the graduate route. The normal route of time period is 2 years, but the government wants to reduce it to 18 months. They also want to increase the length of time it takes for somebody to settle. Under the current rules, you can settle under the work routes after spending 5 years in the UK. They want to double that period to 10 years. They also want to increase the English language requirement levels for those who are using the system, and they also want to introduce it much more widely. At the moment, the dependents of workers are not subject to the English language requirement, but of course, going forward, what the government is saying is that we want to actually make it compulsory for dependents of company workers to also be required to prove their English abilities. So what does that mean? Those are the kind of headline kind of points. What it essentially means is that the cost of immigration to the UK is going to increase. The time period over which you need to spend money will also widen. The number of occupations that you can introduce into your workforces through the immigration system is getting increasingly restrictive. And so therefore, effectively, you're going to have to reconfigure your current immigration programs to accommodate what will be the new landscape, as it were, in terms of the UK immigration architecture. So that leads me really to the final section I want to talk about. How do we expect and how should businesses dealing with this new white paper react? And there's 6 real points we want to make. First of all, you clearly need to audit your kind of immigration programs to distill those occupations and those roles that will no longer fall within the skilled worker route. As I said, you've got to have now occupations which are largely degree level occupations. There are some carve-outs, but there are some uncertainties as to what those carve-outs will be. So you've got to calibrate effectively those cohorts that can use the skilled worker route, and of course be creative about seeing what other alternative routes can exist for them. You've got to, of course, reforecast your budgets because, as I said, the skilled immigration skill charge is going to be increasing by 32%. You've got also, I should have said, an increase in salary thresholds. All that means is higher cost over a longer period of time. So you've got to restart. You've got to reflect further about what your current strategy is, how much of a gap there is between the current strategy and what it would look like under the new cost regimes. You've also got to, of course, review your use of graduates because, as matters stand, as I said, you've got 2 years to allow them to acclimatize and get them into that transition to skilled worker route. That period is now shorter, so therefore you've got to consider whether, in fact, your programs accommodate to that kind of change. And also, you've got to therefore explore many more short-term mobility options. I mean, as the cost of the standard skilled worker route increases and the timeline it takes for you to incorporate this within your programs increases, clearly there has to be much more inbuilt flexibility into your systems. And therefore, as I said, you've got to be creative in relation to utilizing potentially alternative routes. And separately to all of this, you've got to engage with your population because, of course, these are matters of great anxiety for many people. Many people, of course, have come here under existing rules. For example, they came here on the understanding that they would be able to settle after 5 years. As I've said, the settlement period is now 10 years. And all of these things have to be kind of messaged out to kind of pre-prepare both yourself as a business and also your populations. So that really is a snapshot, Brian, of where we are.
Really helpful. And I think that is, to me, there's 2 big takeaways here. And thank you so much for that. The first is there's a direction of travel, and the direction of travel, unsurprisingly, is about tighter rules. But the second is actually that this, although this is only, if you like, a white paper, it does have real consequences in terms of the worry that people will have as a result of this, because people are, it does affect people who are already in the country looking at their futures. Shweb, thank you so much for that update. We're now going to move on to to a tax update. So Shweb, many thanks. We're going to bring onto stage Vialto's Julie Barron and all the way from Canada, Alex Legg. So everybody, you know how it works is we say a big thank you to Shweb and we welcome to our stage Julie Barron and Alex Legg. Everybody hit the heart button, hit the like button and hit the applause button. Hi.
Hello, Brian.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm just so excited to learn all about this week's tax update.
We have such an exciting tax update.
Absolutely. I know we're going to go to Canada in a minute, but Julie, do you want to start off with your US update?
Yes. So right now, the House of the U.S. government is arguing or negotiating, let's say, one big beautiful tax bill. So the official name of the bill is the One Big Beautiful Bill, and it does contain some provisions.
Hang on, that's the official name.
The official name is One Big Beautiful Bill.
Oh, just-
OBBB for short. Yeah. And so we have some provisions in it which does affect mobility, besides all the general individual provisions about tax rates and deductions and things like that. There are a couple that could be concerning to mobility programs. So I wanted to bring those up, and keeping in mind these are only proposed and they continue to be negotiated. They were going to vote as quickly as today. It doesn't look like that's likely at this time. It's all breaking news, changing as we speak, but we'll see what happens. The goal was to have the bill passed by Memorial Day. I'm thinking it might be the middle of next week or the end of next week. But the two provisions of concern, the first one is a newly introduced Section 899, which would increase the tax rate on U.S. source income of foreign nationals from countries where the U.S. has deemed that country imposes a discriminatory tax on U.S. companies. So what that means, for instance, Brian, the UK imposes a digital services tax, and that tax does affect US companies like Google and all the high tech companies. That would mean that you, Brian, if you have US source income, such as US dividends or US bank interest, you would pay an additional 5% tax on that over the normal US rate.
So this applies to corporations and individuals.
Yes, exactly. But in our world, it's really all about the companies, about the individuals. So it'll be an interesting thing to see whether that comes in. It's 5%, and that increases by 5% per year to a max of 20%. So you could pay 20% higher rate than someone from a different country because they've deemed that the UK taxes US companies unfairly. The second one is a kind of an interesting one that we've discovered. It is a 5% excise tax that could be imposed on electronic transfers of funds from the US to other countries by non-US citizens. And I'm going to take you as another example, Brian. So if you are living in the US and you want to send money home to your family and you are not a US citizen, there would be a 5% excise tax on whatever funds you transfer out of the US.
So this could apply to green card holders.
It applies to green card holders, basically anyone who's not a US citizen or national. And we'll see where this one goes. There's a lot of detail in it that isn't 100% clear, but it would really affect our expats who are on a US payroll. A lot of companies put foreign nationals on a host country payroll, so they would not want to be on a US payroll anymore if they have to send money home to their home country. So we'll keep an eye on this one. We'll share information. I think we're going to issue an alert on this later today because it could be a big change to how people set up their foreign nationals on payroll.
Cool. And if that came in, when would that come in?
It would be for transfers after December 31st of 2025. Do you have about...
Yeah, so still fairly soon.
About 6 months, yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. And I think we're moving to your northern neighbour up to Canada.
Yes.
As ever, Alex. Canada is significantly less exciting, but maybe that's a good thing. Yes. So Canada has a new government with effect from the start of this month. It's a Liberal minority government. So for those of you who are watching the Canadian political environment, not a real change. But one of the things that has sort of perhaps been confirmed in the electoral process is that the capital gains proposals that kind of the previous government put in place have been cancelled, so that the capital gains system is unaffected. Also, the consumer carbon tax is likely to be repealed. Other than that, the tax agenda is somewhat fluid. Traditionally, this time of year we would have a federal budget. That's actually now been postponed till late late autumn 2025. And that will give a lot more detail, in terms of what the actual tax changes are. And as Julie mentioned, the sort of 5% surtaxes are premised on digital services tax. Canada has a digital service tax, so perhaps the digital service tax will be repealed to avoid that 5% surtax. Pure speculation on my part, but very much the budget will be focused on kind of supporting businesses and frankly reacting to the geopolitical climate. A couple of the things that probably will be in there, in fact, have been announced. There will be a 1% cut to the basic rate of tax from 15 to 14%. There's also a similar tax cut in Alberta, where the lowest rate will drop from 10% to 8%. Neither of those changes have been enacted, but they're very likely to be, take effect at some point in 2025. Other than that, kind of like, it's really a case of, watch this space. The one other item of note that has sort of come out, from a geopolitical perspective, is Ontario has deferred payment of Ontario employer taxes, like employer health tax, as an example, until October 2025. So if you have operations in Ontario, there is a deferral opportunity, but it is a deferral. There's no reduction in tax, but that's a snapshot of where Canada is.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's interesting. A lot going on in the US, a lot going on in Canada, and indeed around the world. But we really appreciate these regular updates. So we're now going to move on, and we're going to have a quick Benivo update, and then we're going to be bringing on to stage after that the wonderful Yuki Watanabe from Delivery Hero. So everybody, as we move on to the Benivo update, let's say thank you to Alex Legg from Vialto Partners and Julie Barron from Vialto Partners in our time-honoured way of hitting the heart button, hitting the like button, and hitting the applause button. Hi, Matt. How are you doing? Okay, and what's your Benivo news for us this week?
I've got 3 quick updates for us. First is to say congratulations to the Benivo team on achieving a highly recommended at FEM, and that was for our collaboration with Microsoft and the new blueprint for global mobility. So well done, team. And the second one is to say that if anyone is interested in learning more about everything that we are up to, we are going to be out in the world at the GME in New York, and we have 2 sessions happening. The first one I am participating in with our CEO. It's a breakout session about AI agents and the move from lump sum to managed budget. And we're going to look at and talk about why so many companies are switching their policy from lump sum to managed budget and how AI plays a role. And the second session is Nitsan, CEO of Benivo, presenting together with Pradeep, who is the program leader of a very large program at Capgemini, on the session called Managing the Chaos, how mobility teams are looking into technology and data to handle large volume moves.
Love it. Managing the Chaos. Cool title.
Managing the Chaos. That's right. Come and check it out in New York.
Okay, so thank you so much for that, Matt. Really appreciate that update. We're now going to move on, and we've got Yuki Watanabe joining us. So everybody, you know how it works. Hit the heart button, hit the like button, and hit the applause button. Yuki, welcome back. Because you've been on the show before. Welcome back to The View from the Top. Where are you today?
I am in sunny Berlin today.
Okay. Now, you didn't start off there because I think when we first met, you were based out on the West Coast. I think you were with, where did you start? Was it Gap you were with?
Yeah. In San Francisco, yes.
Okay. So you yourself have are a transferee.
Yes, I'm a transplant.
Yeah. And I think you moved in the dark days of COVID, I think you were telling me earlier.
Yeah. It's the period it's a fond memory, but the experience could be better period.
I'm going to say a fond memory. That's I suppose the move was fond, but maybe not the COVID bit. So Yuki, anyway, you're with Delivery Hero.
Yes.
Tell us, I mean, a lot of people in many countries may know Delivery Hero by some of its brands and what have you, but tell us a bit about the Delivery Hero journey and what Delivery Hero does. I'm seeing we've got some of the brands here.
Okay, so Delivery Hero doesn't operate under the name of Delivery Hero. It is a corporation. It was founded in Berlin in 2011. So it's a relatively young technology company. What we do is our mission is to deliver fast, easy, amazing experience to the customer store. So that is our mission. So we're essentially a technology company who offers a platform for delivery services in multiple countries. As you saw, we have 11 brands, operate in 70 plus countries, and we also have a 50,000 plus employees globally. In Berlin headquarters, we have about 3,100 people. The brands, and I'm sorry, I probably mentioned this when the brands slide was up, but some of that we interestingly, we do not have a delivery service or brand in Germany. However, we are very embedded in throughout Europe. Like in Spain, where Matt is, we have a brand called Global. It's the yellow square the thing. So it doesn't really, you can't really see it here, but if you see on the street, it's the yellow backpack. That's our brand.
Okay, and I know you're big in Latin America and APAC. Mm-hmm. I mean, as you said, 70 countries. I mean, that's pretty substantial, and a large number of employees, and indeed, I'm guessing gig workers as well around the world.
Yeah. Yes. Those includes riders, that the people who deliver food. In APAC, the most known brand is the Food Panda. In Latin America, the brand is called Peya. It's Peridosia.
Okay, so you moved from the Gap to Delivery Hero. So from the West Coast of America to Germany, from a pretty well-established company, or a very well-established company, to a much younger tech company. When you started, I think you were saying to me the company was in hypergrowth. Tell me about what it was like in those earliest days.
One of the challenges I was looking for is a different challenge. Technology company, young company that I can help build the global mobility program and the team. So when I started, and because I moved during COVID, of course, the food delivery was in the booming business. So not only as a company itself was a growth stage, the COVID actually fueled the growth of the company. So which means the program that was built for young tech company, maybe few hundred relocations to a triple digit. Okay. So it was very exciting, but at the same time, the challenges were ahead as well.
Okay, and then bring Matt into the conversation, because Matt, obviously the reason you're with us on this part of the show is that Delivery Hero is a Benivo client, And you started working with Yuki in those earliest days. I mean, what was your perspective? What was it like in those early hypergrowth days?
Well, it was very much like she was breaking down right there. The company, and therefore the program, was going through a ramp where you just see everything going up and to the right on a month basis, and that was creating a intense amount of work. And I remember also when we first started talking about solutions together, there wasn't really clarity on how long the whole thing was going to last or how high it was going to go, and it just felt like a train that had been shot out of a cannon.
Okay, and Yuki, I think you were saying when we were chatting earlier that one of the things you liked about Benivo is that Benivo really understood your needs. So tell us a bit about what those needs were.
So when I came, one of the things I really needed to do was to streamline and somehow bring some efficiency into the workload, because the team was small, but the volume was getting higher. So with the same amount of team members, they were managing triple the volume, which meant we needed to create efficiency through automation or a different type of service models. When I looked at the solutions, we needed to look at process, systems, and the suppliers who can support that, all of those. Unfortunately, the existing suppliers weren't able to keep up with our needs, and that's when we started exploring and having a conversation with Matt. And okay, we have volume, we need efficiency, we need a system that's scalable and customizable, and that was the ask.
Got
it. Give me a platform, a one-stop solution.
Okay, and Matt, from your perspective, I mean, a one-stop solution, how did that fit in with what we were doing at Benivo?
Well, it really fit like a glove, and I will very much credit Yuki for kind of having the foresight that there were two streams of incoming on her team. There was the operational incoming, which were new people being recruited, needing to land, fairly short time frames, lots of energy and growth to the employee base, which was creating just the operational friction that comes when you take a system and dump 3 times the volume on it. And then it was also coming on the other direction, because now you have all these people who are super excited to have a job and they need to move to a new place and get started, but they need someone to talk to and start getting information, but they're not yet ready to be initiated for destination services because they're not moving for another couple of months. And so all of that inbound enthusiasm / curiosity was also landing straight on Yuki's team. So it was coming in from 2 directions.
I think that's a really interesting point, Yuki. I'd like to pick up with you on that. This whole question of how you engage with people who haven't actually joined or made their move yet in that early stage when it's actually quite a vulnerable period for people. What was that like, if you like, before and since, and the level of sort of employee engagement or potential employee engagement with the new hires?
Yeah, and I think speaking from my own experience, because when I moved, it was under the old model, and I'm very, I like to plan ahead. So, but I also didn't want to send 1,000 emails to the team that I would be managing. So then I was thinking, I was like, okay, it would be nice if I have a way or resource that I can get information anytime I want it, so on demand, and when I want it, how I want it. So this was part of the solutions I was looking for. We are still caring for the relocators. I was being still cared, but I also wanted the information at the tip of my fingers. So what we wanted to do was to deliver the same experience, but in a different way. We're still providing same services, but just how we deliver the services is different.
Yeah, we want to deliver it in a different way, and I suppose it goes without saying a better way as well to enhance the employee experience. So I think Matt, I think we've got a slide actually. We can show what that experience might look like. So Matt, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is one of the first screens that Delivery Hero employees will see after they've been initiated by the system. So they've received an offer, they've accepted, they know they're going to move, and to satisfy that curiosity that Yuki was just talking about, rather than immediately turn around and start talking to the team, which they still can't do, but in order to satisfy that initial curaosity, I think what Yuki and the team wanted to do in order to maintain, the feeling of curated resources provided by the company, something that was being, that was starting immediately and that was going to follow them through their journey, is to immediately get some support in motion. So you can get initiated to the platform right away. You understand what you're going to get on there, and then you have, let's say that you're still 6 months away from actually arriving, or even 4 months. You want to start learning about where you're going, and so we enable the combination of at your fingertips support. This entire platform, we're showing the web view. It's also available on the phone, and it can help the employees satisfy all their questions. About the destination, about housing, what prices to expect, what neighborhood should I think about, and rather than Yuki's team being forced to be in a position where they say, we know you're excited, we're still 4 months out, we're going to provide services, per the policy, we still have the same design of support, we're overwhelmed, we can't help you at the moment. Now they have an initial app that they can start exploring. It's curated and designed to be an extension of Delivery Hero services, and they can also get straight to people, including an AI bot. So infinite patience, talk as much as you want. That's also supported in the background by us, by a 24/7 team that has guidance from Yuki and her team about how we're supposed to engage with these questions. And if there's additional things that need to actually get to Yuki's team, they can do it straight through the system.
And I think from your perspective, Yuki, that one of the things that you wanted, I think you're saying this to me before, is that you wanted it to look and feel like Delivery Hero, even though it was obviously a Benivo platform. And tell us about that and how you personalized this. And because I saw, that clearly looked like Delivery Hero.
Mm-hmm. We obviously have a guidance around branding, but what we wanted was not to make people feel like we're just shifting the work to an outside vendor and bye-bye. So what we wanted was an extension of the team supporting with the technology, but it still feels like it's part of the Delivery Hero support. So a lot of the customization that we wanted was to really have the look and feel of the Delivery Hero.
Cool. And how easy was the customization process from your perspective?
I don't think it was that difficult. I think it's, I can't take all the credits because it's my wonderful team was the one.
Let's pull up your team. Well, I think we got a picture of them. Here we go. So who have we got here, Yuki? Let's give them all a shout out.
Oh, okay. So from the top, with the pink hair, that's Lona, and down, that's Gosha and Dominica and Andrea. So we're very diverse company. So they all come from different countries, except for Gosha and Dominica. They're both from Poland. And
they bring good vibes.
Yes. So this is one of our leadership principles that we just launched, and this is the value the team picked.
So wow! Well, shout out to everybody in your team, and indeed everybody at Delivery Hero. Wish you all the best. So Yuki, there were features I think of the platform that you really liked, and I'd like to sort of get you to sort of talk about some of those. I know one was pay later, so maybe talk about what that was and why that was important.
Sure. So when I landed, there were two. Well, there were more than two, but one of the priority was to find a cash flow issue challenge. So cash flow was a challenge for a lot of young engineers and especially people from restricted currency countries. For them to secure an apartment, they have the money in their own currency, but they can't get it over the border, or they don't have enough cash to put the deposit because they don't get the relocation bonus until they actually move. So this is a pay later feature with Benivo was one of the solutions that I was looking for. So this is one of the things I said to Matt, it's like, okay, I need a solution, but digital solutions, yes, but this other component is also important. The other thing was, solve the housing crisis in Berlin. That one was a little bit harder, but we solved it in a different way.
Okay, so the housing crisis was what, a shortage of housing that was available?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So yeah. Matt couldn't build an apartment for us, but
it's harder to solve that with digital solutions. The digital housing wasn't quite the right fit.
But actually, we couldn't do it in the 3D printing.
That's right.
But talking about housing, because I mean, obviously, the thing about the Benivo platform is it does integrate the different providers. So tell us a bit about how it integrated with your accommodation providers and indeed your other providers.
So one of the goal we achieved was to use the Benivo platform to be the single platform. So we have an integration from our HRIS system into Benivo and downstream housing suppliers and immigration. So all the necessary data goes through the API and to the housing home searching service provider for them to kick off the searches when it's needed, not when the initiation is put through.
Okay, and Matt, tell us a bit about the integration process, how that happened, because I hear people sometimes say that integrations with large companies can be difficult because they can be a bit bureaucratic, and integrations with small companies can be a bit difficult because maybe they don't have the resource, but somehow Benivo, we seem to manage those integrations. So tell us about that process. What's the secret sauce to making integration work efficiently and effectively?
Yeah, that's a great way to break it down. So the second part we have full control on because we're the company in that equation, and the way to get off to a very good start is to have standard APIs. So we have standardized APIs out of the Benivo platform that allow a variety of different other systems and suppliers to connect in and for us to connect. I would characterize the problem that is very common for client teams to face when they want to get integrations done is just simply the queue, because everybody wants to get integrations done, and internally at a company there is a limited amount of people who actually can be deployed to do those integrations. Even by the time when you actually get there, the sophistication of the integration or the ease of the integration might be great, right? It's something that when the right people are deployed, you can get it done, but it's just simply corralling the resource and making the business case for what the impact is going to be and why it's the right move to do. I think Yuki and her team were very effective at doing that, and so yeah, we got up and running. I will maybe tee Yuki up for one more comment about the housing crisis. I think everybody who lives in big cities, and especially big cities in Europe, can relate. But one of the things that we did try to attack, while we can't build the housing, we can advise on the strategies and prep people for, if you want to get into a place in a reasonable amount of time, how are you going to do it? And so with the guidance, platform guidance, making sure that they're reading the right content, but also connecting to the insights from other people who just went through the process. And when we first started going, there were so many people coming in. Everybody was having some insights to share, and that's one of the other things that make the self-service on the system unique, because they can access tips from people who just moved.
Okay, we've got a question that's come in from Ferzi, and let's just pull that up. She says, how far in advance do these individuals gain access to the system, and what happens if the organizations need change in the meantime? Yuki.
So the access to the system instantaneously when we initiate the service with Benivo. So within, I don't know what the SLA is, I think within hours, I would say, I don't, so I would refer to you, but very, very soon. Now, the access to system versus access to the different services is two different tracks. So that is built on the agreement between these suppliers. And I'm not really
also for
sure.
the payments.
Yes, the payments are for the pay. We have it set up, and I don't think I can really share the details on how it's set up, but it's designated. The periods are based on the agreement between us and Benivo. And I don't really understand the second question.
So, and Matt, I don't want to sort of go into anything that's confidential for Delivery Hero for obvious reasons, but from a general perspective, how does pay later work in practice? I mean, explain the concept, because I mean, relocation companies, tech companies doing fintech, which is what we're doing, is quite unique, or is unique. So tell us a bit about the concept of pay later and how it works in theory, without going to any confidential information.
Yeah, of course. So we have integrated global payments engine on the Benivo platform, which we can then put to the use of clients. And the way that it works is it's built around the start date. But when you get access to the platform and when you get the permission to use the payment features don't have to be the same, as Yuki was just saying. But what is very nice for the employee is that they know that this benefit is here, and they see exactly when they can access it, and they see what they're going to have as support. And the way that Pay Later works is very simple. It is a client team's ability to snap their fingers and create a parallel or an equivalent to a salary advance program without ever touching payroll. Nothing needs to change on the way that payroll works today, which all the global mobility professionals in the audience will know is never a welcome discussion to change how payroll is working. But you need to solve the employee problem, because if you want them to move, get started, and be living in a place, then they need money up front. And so Pay Later bridges that gap. The feature can provide the cash flow to the employee, and after they're on payroll and they're getting paid and everything, they've received their bonus, they can then repay by installments. There's no interest or fees for the employee. It's access to a benefit provided by the employer.
So one of the key attractions here is that funds can be advanced to someone who is not actually on payroll at that point.
That's right.
Which is huge. So tell me, Yuki, you've moved from, if you like, a manual process which was fairly labor intensive to a process that is digital and efficient. But what does that mean from a minute by minute, day to day perspective? How has that actually changed the daily life of you and your team in terms of what you actually do? Give us an example of, if you like, that was then, this is now.
Sure. My daily life probably didn't change much, but my team's life has significantly got better. In the beginning, when we really moved from old system to Benivo system, the integration, after all the integration was working, I would say this digital self-service model probably saved about 20 to 30% best estimate, probably 20 to 30% of the time. Because rather than trying to answer.
So you said save 22
to 30% of their time.
Wow. Okay. So between
my best estimate, my team may say it.
Yeah. Sorry, you carry on. Tell us a bit more about it.
Yeah, because the reason is really because it's this way everybody's getting a same standard information, same information on demand. So there's no limitation of when they're going to get we were getting a lot of questions, probably me included, much before their destination service is triggered. So that means somebody has to answer. So, okay, you're going to get this information, but they need to know. So the team was spending time to care for our employees. So all of those it's necessary, but it doesn't have to be done by our team. The resource can be housed somewhere. And that meant they can actually focus their energy in consulting or caring for the relocators' real needs, because it's an emotional thing for them to move to another country. So efficiency, yes, but a more valuable, meaningful experience for the employee, I would say.
That's fascinating. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were saying there's basically two models. There's a digital model and a white glove model, and they're completely different models. And I was saying, absolutely not. I mean, the people who get the white glove service want the digital service too. And it's if you like, it's an and discussion, not an or discussion. It's not one or the other. It should be both. But every organization has its VIPs where they do need that extra level. How are you handling those cases? If you like, the white glove case, the really white glove cases?
So I would say we don't differentiate in what we provide as a standard. So regardless of your level, everybody is set up in Benivo. Then some executives may say, okay, this is enough. I've done multiple moves. This is all I need. I just need a few things from you. Where, there is the other category. Okay, this is nice to know, but I also need more concierge approach. So it'll be an add-on, depending on the individual. So we will do a customized approach for the VIPs.
Cool. Okay, and tell us. I mean, obviously, you've gone through this implementation process. Hopefully, it's very smooth process, certainly compared to other systems. But tell me about the lessons you learned as you went through the process. The lesson learned from consolidating vendors, digitizing mobility, workforce.
I would say the key is be clear on what you want and reiterate, because the teams can change on both sides, and open communications, because it's sometimes misunderstanding happens. What we thought, we had communicated, it was clear, and we're, of course, we're operating in a very diverse environment, language, culture, yes, that all factors into communications. But, if there's a will, there's a way. So if both parties are willing to work through this, then all the challenges can be conquered. It's just a matter of timing.
Absolutely. So again, but from the employee's point of view, people sometimes turn around and say, "Oh, we don't want to do digital because employees won't like it." I mean, my experience is actually employees love it. They want to be able to do things here and now, and they don't want to have to wait for responses. What's been your reaction, the reaction of your employees to the digital platform?
Well, we're a tech company, so most people were fine with the changes. But there are, of course, people who are very used to more hands-on. Everything is served on a silver platter. They may not like it. So complete digital versus knowing where we can add a human touch. I think it's the key. It's the key on anything. You cannot remove human touch on anything. I really think there has to be a human somewhere. But where we bring the human touch is, we just need to make sure that is adding the value.
Yeah, because I'm guessing that your team can actually spend more time now adding the value, because all the sort of manual stuff, the copying and pasting that goes on between spreadsheets and entering the same data multiple times, that's taken away. I mean, there's an old saying is, you can either work hard or you can work smart, and if you're smart, you'll work smart. So it's all about working smart. It's also about maybe having the time to focus on what's important by not having to do what's urgent, by getting the urgent, because too often in our daily lives, the urgent stuff stops us doing the important stuff. But Matt, from the Benivo perspective, actually, no, I'll address this one to Yuki. I mean, the emails that you were getting beforehand compared to now, what's the volume gone like of the sort of inquiries that you were getting from the people who are moving?
I can't really tell you that because I wasn't really sure.
Yeah.
that was going to be a question, but it is significant. We do measure not just from this, but in general, how are we bring efficiency on everything. So we are seeing trending down on questions, whether it's a bot or candid response, all of those. And I'm surrounded by the team that is super excited about the creating efficiency. So it's like every day, every minute, they think of some ways to improve.
Okay. Now, I know, Matt, we're going to be doing a show in a few weeks' time on AI and the impact that is having on mobility. But talk a little bit about AI at the moment and where you see, what we're doing now and where you see the future going with a company like Delivery Hero, both as a now, but also where, the direction of travel.
Right. Well, I think that what we all see in the world is the AI toolset just getting more and more powerful and more capable. And what we're focused on is making sure that we're corralling that and putting it into the product. So, on the product today is AI for the global mobility team who, might need to answer complex questions to business stakeholders who are considering moving a potential new hire from complicated country A to complicated country B, and no one can be expected to have all the information in their head. Let's be able to use mobility trained AI tools to quickly get the right answers so they can work efficiently. On the employee side, we kind of the same thought process applies. Let's provide immediate resources to get your answers. Use AI to help you understand all the things that are on these tools and resources that we're using. And we talked a lot about digital today, but the Delivery Hero program is also providing the in destination services. So there is a high touch component for the destination services, for example, and the housing support that is provided, and all of that process is also managed out of the same app that both I say app meaning web app, that the internal team is working on and the vendors are working on, and the employee is going to as their primary home base to manage their policy and benefits and learn about their move. And so I think the capabilities for AI engines to not only answer questions, but also in the background to manage more and more processes is just going to improve as we go forward.
Okay, and Yuki, I'll leave the last 60 seconds or so to you. What would you like to see? What would you like to see in the future?
I'm very lazy in nature, so I would like to see. I would like to see the suppliers to come up with a system or use the AI to think for us and do everything for us before we even ask. Predict what we need and give us what we need.
Well, I think that might be coming sooner than you think. I know that some of the technology, for example, with cost estimates, our technology, you don't even have to do what ifs. It does the what ifs for you automatically. And I think some of the technology I've seen, you can drop an email in there and it'll draft a response to you without even having to draft it. There's some very, very cool stuff either out there or coming down the turnpike. We are pretty much out of time though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back onto stage our other guests, the Fragments Schweb from Vialto, Julie Barron and Alex, and of course our wonderful producer Tali Gorin. It's been an amazing show. Yuki, thank you so much for telling us all about the program at Delivery Hero and how you've been digitizing mobility. Schweb, Alex, and Julie, thank you so much for your immigration and tax updates. We really appreciate the support you give. Matt, thanks for being on the show and supporting Yuki on this. Tally, as ever, thank you so much for all your work behind the scenes. We are back next week with the amazing Laura Young from Salesforce talking about beyond operational, how we build a strategic vision for global mobility. So everybody, we are out of time. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We are back next week. Take care and have a great week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.